each week right here on the Nashville Network. Motoworld's managing editor, Dennis Torres, and Mark McKay will be here later for road racing and ATV action. But first, let's go indoors for ice racing. Motorcycles on ice, indoors, you bet. It's a bit like roller derby and bump and run. Riding time can mean on the bike or sliding along beside it. The Indoor Pro Ice Race Series, now in its 12th season, gains in popularity every year. Garth Brow carries the #1 plate. The 28-year-old Flint, Michigan rider has held the crown for 6 straight seasons. His chances for a 7th?
I'd say pretty good, you know. I don't know, I just race one race at a time, and we'll go as fast as we can.
Going fast on ice is easier said than done. The key is over 1,400 special screws embedded in the tires that provide traction. The series is held on indoor hockey rinks. In fact, the racing on the short, tight ovals is often described in hockey terms. Body checking, for example, is a favorite ice racing technique. Brow, a master at avoiding crashes and sliding bikes, had nowhere to go in this heat race confrontation. The defending champion scored no points in that ride. Top scoring honors went to number 19, Mike Rhodes, with 4 wins in the round-robin format. Winning heat races is one thing. Winning the evening's main event is another. In that race, Brow, with moves slicker than the ice they race on, took command before the first lap was over. Behind Brow, the bumping and banging for positions went right to the finish. But the champion out front stayed out of trouble and slid smoothly to the win. The first step in the 5-race series toward a 7th crown. The Nissan Great American Motorcycle and ATV Show has become a must for motorcycle enthusiasts battling the winter blues commonly known as cabin fever. Ari Landrum reports on the show's tour stop in Pomona, California.
If you're an enthusiast thinking about buying a new bike in the spring, or you're curious about the latest offerings from the world's top motorcycle companies, the Great American Motorcycle Show is a must. Where else can you evaluate and compare just about every brand and type of motorcycle and ATV under the same roof? Most of the bikes on display haven't even made it to your local dealer's showroom floor. The Great American Show serves as a special sneak preview of the 1987 model lineup. Although most of the motorcycles and ATVs in the show are not available yet, some have already debuted in competition, like Yamaha's new 4-wheeler for the serious rider, the Banshee. This 4-wheel racer continues Yamaha's long-standing tradition of high-performance, twin-cylinder 2-stroke power plants. In fact, it's the first 4-wheeler to hit the market with an open-class 2-stroke twin-cylinder engine. How potent is Yamaha's new creation? It was potent enough to win the infamous Baja 1000 off-road race on its maiden voyage. And speaking of voyages, this man, 44-year-old George Egloff, is undertaking a voyage of sorts, crossing the U.S. on a motorcycle for charity. The New Jersey resident will trek 18,000 miles in a Ride for Sight to benefit research for the blinding disease, retinitis pigmentosa. If you'd like to attend the Great American Motorcycle and ATV Show, here are the remaining dates and location for the 87 tour. If you haven't attended the show in the past, it's a great way to spend a winter afternoon or night. Reporting for Motoworld, this is Ari Landrum.
Still to come on Motoworld, the ATV National Championship opens in California. Motocross riders prepare for this month's Supercross Series curtain raiser in Anaheim. And coming up next, Suzuki road racer Kevin Schwantz talks to Motoworld. Dennis Torres joins us now with a look at one of America's most promising young road racers. Dennis?
Larry, most observers feel Suzuki's Kevin Schwantz could be America's next world champion. I spent some time with Schwantz at a recent Daytona test session, and we talked about last season and what lies ahead.
I guess the first big test was the first national here in 1985 at Daytona, when I came here on a GS 700 and wasn't even expected to qualify in the top 10, and managed to qualify 3rd right in the middle of the front row. That was, I think, the first time I realized that I was going to be able to do good as a road racer, and that the stuff I'd done before wasn't just all luck.
The meteoric rise of Kevin Schwantz has nothing to do with luck. The formula for success thus far has been a combination of determination and the natural ability to ride a motorcycle very fast.
I don't ride like everyone else does. I ride a little different. My style's a little bit different. So it takes getting the bike set up a little bit different than most people would ride it. And I think that's my biggest problem right now is being able to go and get on a strange bike and be able to set it up and in 2 or 3 days be going as fast as I can, be 100% on the bike.
Riding 100% is the only way Schwantz knows how to ride, yet his strategy, once out on the track, is rather basic.
Wherever somebody gets on their brakes, I try and go in just as far, if not further than they do, and try and get on the gas earlier, or if not earlier, at the same time as they do, just to either try and stay with them or get in front of them.
Schwantz had a disappointing year in 1986. A broken collarbone compromised his season. 1987, however, looks promising with a healthy Schwantz and the potent Suzuki Superbike.
The people at Suzuki are really behind me. The people at Yoshimura are really pumped up this year. We're going to go out this year and just really try hard to win a Superbike championship. And I think learning the things that we learned last year about the new bike and myself learning what I learned racing in Europe and in America last year, I think we stand a really good chance of bringing home the #1 plate for Suzuki.
Besides the Superbike National Series, Schwantz plans on racing as many European Grand Prix races as his U.S. racing schedule will allow. Larry, 1987 will be a crucial year in the career of one Kevin Schwantz.
Thank you, Dennis. This week's Fram Autolite Flashback involves that same Suzuki Superbike team back when their riders were Wes Cooley and New Zealander Graham Crosby. Here's Dave Bowman with another memorable moment in motorcycle racing brought to you by Fram Autolite.
The 1981 Daytona Superbike race had a distinct international flavor with strong factory participation and riders from all over the globe. The leading international entry was 1980 Daytona Superbike winner and Grand Prix star Graham Crosby. The American entry boasted Superbike pioneer and two-time Superbike champion Wes Cooley. To make matters more interesting, the two Suzuki riders were teammates, riding for the legendary Japanese engine builder Pops Yoshimura. 3 straight Daytona wins had made Suzuki the dominant force in Superbike racing. The question at the 1981 Daytona meeting was, could they make it 4 wins in a row? Early in the race, California Cooley, number 34, and number 316, Crosby in New Zealand, left little doubt that a Yoshimura Suzuki would win. In the late stages, the question became which rider would claim the victory. The last lap told the story. Cooley made the right moves, holding off Crosby in the final dash to the checkered flag. After 100 miles of high-speed dueling, the margin of victory, a scant 3 bike lengths. Cooley's first Daytona Superbike victory gave Suzuki and Yoshimura a record 4 straight wins in Daytona's 100-mile Superbike Classic, a record that still stands. For Motoworld, this is Dave Bowman reporting.
And now, Nissan presents the Nissan Scoreboard, a statistical look at the world of motorcycle racing.
In road racing, the manufacturer's battle for Superbike supremacy during Daytona Cycle Week has Honda and Suzuki tied at the top with 4 victories each. The indoor Pro Ice race crown has rested on the head of Honda rider Garth Brow for 6 years. Since 1981, Brow has been challenged but never beaten. In professional ATV racing, Honda riders are batting 1,000%. Marty Hart, with a championship crown in every year since the series' inception, leads the title tally.
When Motoworld returns, we'll turn our attention to ATV action. Mark McKay will join us for a look at the latest ATV racing highlights. And we'll take you to an ATV riding school with a champion headmaster. ATVs has become one of the most popular forms of recreation in this country. Let's go behind the scenes with Coors to a school where a professional ATV racer teaches the do's and don'ts of ATV riding. Steve Saunders reports.
Since the public's introduction to all-terrain vehicles, or ATVs, in the late 70s, the growth of this outdoor activity has been phenomenal. And as in other modes of motorized transportation, once it becomes accessible, people modify and race them. ATV racing can take place just about anywhere, from the challenging desert terrain of the Southwest to the multi-purpose stadiums of our major cities. How does one become an ATV racer? Well, you could hone your skills at the grassroots level year after year, or you could roll in, you guessed it, ATV riding school. 5 years ago, pro ATV racer Steve Wright envisioned such a school which would help ATV enthusiasts improve their riding skill. Today, that dream is a reality.
Our school is set up for any kind of ATV enthusiast, from a recreational rider that wants to learn how to ride safer, or a pretty serious racer that wants to fine-tune some of his racing skills.
The way Stevie teaches it, he teaches it really safe, and that goes a long ways. And when you teach it safe and fast, that goes a long ways.
To make sure the instruction really hits home to Wright's younger pupils, the riders' parents are invited to sit in during the classroom sessions. They usually come away with a good bit of newfound knowledge.
we've been racing 4 years. I've never been to one of the schools, and I was surprised at what I learned myself of the riding gear, how we have the riding gear, we haven't been using it properly.
Well, my #1 priority is that every student here today leaves as a safer rider.
For Motoworld, I'm Steve Saunders.
Mark McKay joins us now with highlights of some of those Steve Wright ATV school graduates in action. And Mark, it looks like the professional ATV racing season has arrived.
Well, Larry, you better believe it. Pro ATV racers had plenty of opportunities to strut their stuff recently as the racing season got underway with races in California and the Midwest. The most significant of these events was round 1 of the AATVA Grand National Series.
While the start of a new ATV racing season usually means different equipment, colors, and numbers, it doesn't change any of the old rivalries. The 250cc final in the AATVA Grand National Series opener boiled down to a race between longtime adversaries Gary Denton, #3 on a Suzuki, and former three-wheel national champion Marty Hart on the #17 Honda. Hart, a guest instructor at Steve Wright's ATV school, may have to go back to class. This close encounter with the hay bales on the final lap cost him a shot at the win. With Hart tied up, Denton was left all alone to celebrate his victory. The next night, ATV riders were back in action on a smaller, tighter stadium track for the opening round of Mickey Thompson's Off-Road Grand Prix Series. Action in the 250cc final saw Suzuki-mounted Don Turk, #24, holding off national champion Rodney Gentry, #6. Gentry, known for his high-flying style of riding, didn't have his wings working on this maneuver. His nose-down bump-and-roll landing put him out for the night. With everyone else fighting among themselves for position, Turk was free to coast home to victory. ATVs race everywhere else, so why not on ice? All you do is add 3,000 special studs to the tires for traction, and you're on your way. Racing on the tight confines of an indoor hockey rink may not seem like fun, but it's a real crowd pleaser. Bumping, banging, and body English are the keys. On this night, #44 Dave Knapp was the first to the checkered flag.
Michigan's Dave Knapp is a busy man in the Pro Ice Race Series. Larry, he not only races ATVs, he races bikes as well.
Thank you, Mark. From ATVs on ice, we go to the richest motorcycle off-road event in the world, Whiskey Pete's Hare and Hound. With a billing like that, it's no wonder the host city is Las Vegas. There was plenty of glitter and bright lights to greet entrance in the Nissan World Championship Hare and Hound, but what really brought the riders to Whiskey Pete's castle in the desert was the lure of money. $35,000 in cold, hard cash for the purse. $3,850 would go to the overall winner. That type of payout assured a strong rider turnout, which included riders from 28 states, plus Canada and Europe. The strategy is simple in Hare and Hound racing. Get out front and let everybody else chase you. That doesn't mean you have to lead from the start. Sometimes it's better to let someone else pick the right line, if there is one. The riders ran flat out across the desert for most of the first loop in the 150-mile race. Then came the climb up into the mountains where snow kept things interesting. By the time leader Garth Sweetland, #328, reached this long downhill section, he had outdistanced his competition. Once back in the desert, second-place rider Jeff Dartland, #322, turned up the afterburners, trying in vain to catch leader Sweetland. Kevin Steele, #327, slicing his way through this rocky section, charged to an eventual 3rd overall. Meanwhile, Sweetland was riding so hard he arrived at the finish before anyone expected him. Promoter Casey Folks quickly grabbed the overall winner to congratulate him. While he was all smiles at the finish, Team Husqvarna rider Sweetland almost didn't have a bike to race.
This bike was in Ohio Thursday night, in a crate. I had them ship it. I picked it up Friday morning here in Las Vegas at the airport and put it together.
Garth Sweetland's winning performance proved he's not only a good rider, but a darn good mechanic as well. For his Whiskey Pete win, Garth Sweetland is our Castrol Rider of the Week. Garth will receive a custom-embroidered racing jacket from Castrol, as well as a commemorative plaque for being named Castrol Rider of the Week. If you would like to nominate a Castrol Rider of the Week, write us here at Motoworld. Watch for the address at the end of the show. season, tragedy has struck one of the sport's biggest names, David Bailey, the gifted national champion from Virginia. Cycle News in the Win column reports Bailey suffered a severe back injury in a California practice crash, which could result in paralysis. It will be several weeks before the full extent of his injuries will be known. I know David would appreciate your get well cards and letters. You can send them to David Bailey, care of Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, 751 South Bascom Avenue, San Jose, California, 95128. With the 87 motocross season just around the corner, riders are tuning up with off-season racing, and at least one factory will field much improved equipment. Members of the motorcycle press were recently invited to Paris Raceway for the unveiling of a much-improved RM250 Suzuki motocrosser. Team Suzuki riders, including multi-time national champion Bob Hanna, were on hand to answer questions and explain the improvements. Improvements that include new brakes, front and rear, and additional horsepower from Suzuki's power valve engine. Then members of the press donned motocross gear to see for themselves if the Suzukis were indeed improved. On the track, the machines lived up to every expectation.
Well, first thing that impressed me was the low-end horsepower. I think their new exhaust valve made a big difference. It really pulls hard out of corners, and the mid-range is pretty good, too.
U.S. Suzuki has done their homework. The rest is up to the riders. Speaking of riders, what are they doing to prepare for the upcoming season? Suzuki's Bob Hanna, aboard the new 250 RM, along with other fellow pros, have elected to get in shape at the Florida Winter Series. At the series opener, Yamaha's Keith Bowen won the first 250cc moto, with teammate Jeff Stanton finishing second and Hanna third.
Yeah, I think I lost my arms at about 15-minute mark, and just hung on with my legs and steered with my waist. My arms felt like a couple of baseball bats.
In the second moto, Hanna, with his baseball bats, hit a home run and took the win. Meanwhile, in California, the Golden State Series kicked off in a downpour. Both the Florida and California Series are considered by the factories as a final opportunity to dial in new equipment and the riders' bodies. Once on the track, though, the riders' instincts take over, and each race is run as if it were a national. At Adelanto, number 78, Kawasaki's Ron Lachine from El Cajon, California, won both of the Muddy Motos. If action in the Florida and California warm-up series is any kind of indicator, the upcoming nationals could be the most exciting ever. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Motoworld and that you'll be with us each week on TNN's Sports Sunday Lineup. The 1987